Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of Becoming More Me. I'm really excited to introduce you to Eileen Marder-Mirman this week. And Eileen lives in New York with her husband, her two cats, and loves seeing her grandson every week. Now, she has been in the healing realm for quite some time and also has worked as a psychotherapist for over 45 years. So helping, hundreds of professional women and men in their healing journey. Eileen is also the author of How I Think I Should Be is BS, From Hiddenness to Open-Hearted, healing memoir, not just for professional women, which is available on Amazon. And I'm really excited to just kind of unravel her journey of how she has gotten to this place, written this book, and how she is still helping people every single day. So welcome, Eileen. Hey, Eileen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Teresa.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. I'm excited for it. I'd love to start, as I always do when I have a guest on, by just getting to know a little bit about you personally, how you like to spend your days, who you like to spend them with, what your passions are. Just tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, great. So, I still work full time as a healer and a healing teacher. So I spend a lot of time working. I'm promoting my book, which is why I'm here. We'll talk about that. So trying to get on podcasts. So I love doing the podcasts. They're just fun for me. Um, and I love doing different creative arts, really into knitting. Used to do a lot of collage, but now I moved to a smaller apartment from a house, so I can't leave things all over the place like I used to. And I love seeing family and being with family and reading, although I haven't had much time to read too much lately. So I'm,
Sounds like
I'm
you're,
looking forward to the warmer weather where I could take a book and just get into it.
yeah. Do you like to sit outside and read?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing about that with us. Now, you and I both published books last year, so I'm sure that was a really exciting year for you because I know it was an exciting year for me. Tell us a little bit about your book.
So my book is it's a memoir and it's all about my healing journey. And I've wanted to write a book for probably since I was in my 30s. But once I got into my mid 60s, I said, okay, it's time to write that book already.
Now or never, let's do it.
So I finished editing the millionth time last March. I think the book came out March 31st. And so it's been out and, that was very exciting. So the book is all about, my traumas, how I recovered from them. It's about my spirituality. I was a very spiritual little girl, what that was like. I talk about things like ritual and kindness and forgiveness. And I have a little bit of a different take than many therapists. I've been a psychotherapist for over 45 years. And I take people through things like hatred, how to deal with hatred so you don't act it out, um, how to deal with loss and grief and mourning, and also joys and love, and really how to be more of yourself. I don't tell people what to do. I tell people what I've done
That's
and
awesome.
and what works. So.
Yeah. The the joy and the positive side of things don't mean a whole lot without the other side of things, that shadow and that light, and those are all things that we're all kind of working through. I love that. And for those of you who don't know, we should probably mention the name of the book is How I Think I Should Be is BS, From Hiddenness to Open-Hearted, healing memoir, not just for professional women. And that can be found on Amazon, right, Eileen?
It could be found actually on Amazon. It's all over the internet on all the different bookstores on the internet. You could order it any private indie store. It's available through that other company that's not Amazon. Can't think of the name.
Ingram Spark?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So any bookstore could order it. It's actually people in Europe have gotten it. Actually, the people in Europe got it the day before it
Mhm.
launched here in New York, in the United States. and in Australia also. I have some people out there. So that was pretty exciting. They would send me the picture of them with the book before it
Oh,
even came through here. So
that's super exciting.
yeah.
And I love what you said about, your approach on, helping people deal with things like hatred. What is your approach? What is unique about it?
So it's really owning your stuff, owning that we all have biases, owning that we really feel hatred sometimes. And when we could really own it, even though we're not supposed to feel those feelings, there's a big relief in saying, okay, I really do feel this way. And then you could look at yourself and say, why? What's going on? What is driving this? And you could actually heal yourself and have more compassion by really allowing yourself to know these shadowy sides, these dark sides of the self, and not have to act them out, even though we might want to.
Yeah, for sure. What originally got you into the realm of psychotherapy?
Oh gosh. Um, I was always interested in what made people tick. So even as a little girl, I was reading like they used to have a Hitchcock magazine. They used to have like a Twilight Zone. They used to have all these different science fiction magazines that I would read to try to figure things out. Of course, I watched The Outer Limits and the Twilight Zone back, I guess, in the 60s. And now I like to watch true crime sometimes to try to figure out what makes people tick, and I can't always figure it out, but I was always interested in that. And the spirituality part, I was experiencing that as a very young child, always feeling like guidance was not that far away.
Mm,
And it's something that I've integrated into my work. I've been meditating since I was 18 years old, so over 50 years.
beautiful.
And it's changed my life and made it fuller. And I'm more able to deal with the crossroads of life better most of the time, not all the time,
Yeah.
but um, but I'm able to pick myself up pretty quickly, even when I feel like I've gotten down pretty low. Uh,
hmm I love that. And a lot of times, maybe you make this parallel when you're talking to the people that you help. I feel like one of the best benefits of the kind of work that we do is that being able to kind of speed up the time or close the gap faster when you're feeling one way and wanting to transition into a different state of feeling. I think that's kind of like one of the higher value reasons why I enjoy doing this kind of work. Would you say the
yeah,
same thing?
Yeah, I would say so. And also to let people know that just because you feel the hatred, the anger, the outrage, the sadness, the despair, those are all healthy, normal qualities and emotions that we have. And to allow them can help us to get to a place where we're able to integrate it and be more compassionate, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
acknowledgement allows the energy to move, and then all of a sudden things release and everything changes. That's amazing. What kind of you mentioned that you still, work in the healing realm full time. What got you into that? What kind of modalities do you like to use? How do you help people to heal outside of psychotherapy?
Yeah, so of course there's the psychotherapy stuff, and I very early on took a course. I would say it was just after I graduated. I moved to Manhattan around 77 when I graduated graduate school, and I took a course on energy healing down at NYU. They were doing it for nurses, and somehow, I guess because I had my master's degree in counseling, I was able to get into the course.
Very
And so I started with therapeutic touch, and then I took all different kinds of energy healing, and I dabbled in that. I worked a lot with prayer um, around that time. I I did Reiki, just all these different ways of working with energy and understanding that I could also work with myself with the energies and know what's mine and know better what somebody else's. Like a lot of people say, oh, I can't work with a certain amount of people because I pick up their energy. And I say that that's actually your own energy that they're helping you to feel.
Yeah.
once we can transform that and know that it's our own, then we could actually open up more to the other person.
I love that interpretation.
Thank you. I mean, I've also learned EFT, but I'm not a master of EFT, so I don't even list that on my
No, but I
list of
mean, you don't have
credentials.
to be able to help people with it, you know. I mean, I'm sure the way that you can blend together everything you already know, you can probably work beautifully with EFT.
Yeah.
Um, when I was writing my book, I came up a lot against a lot of visibility blocks and, things that kind of challenged my own vulnerability and things. When you were writing yours, what did you find was the hardest to write or the hardest to kind of put out there?
So there's writing and there's writing. I could easily write about things,
Hmm.
but to really make it personal was the challenge.
Yep.
So I was extremely vulnerable. And even though I've been through tons of therapy, years and years of spiritual practices, I'm very present most of the time, not all the time. I found that the depths of vulnerability that I experienced were a little bit surprising. And I mean, I would finish writing, let's say 10:30 at night. I'd ask my husband to listen to what I wrote that day. What do you think? Um, and I would have to just sit there for a while and like recover from the vulnerability, like bring myself back to the now. And then I could go upstairs and go to sleep. Um, most nights. But I would say that was a great challenge, and really finding a way to say what I really wanted to say, um, that was that helped me, and maybe that could help open somebody else, and know that, yeah, it's not easy. You can't do it alone. You have to have support on the path,
Yeah.
um, and it's doable. I mean, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at this point, and it's very doable. And even though it gets scary at times, if you're not alone, if you're not doing all the work alone and doing meditations alone and doing any of the practices alone,
Right.
even EFT. I mean, you could do EFT on yourself.
Hmm.
It's good to do it with somebody,
Hmm.
so you
Yeah,
could
there's definitely
process things.
power in group energy.
Yeah, it makes a
Yeah,
difference.
for sure. Have you always had good support on your journey?
Always,
That's
always.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have friends, colleagues, you know, even some of my friends over the years didn't do as much work as personal work as I have, or spiritual work as I have. Just having people that you could talk to it makes a big difference. I mean, Buddha said the important things is having the Sangha, which is community, having the teachings, having a teacher, and having community. He might have said something else, I can't remember.
He probably said it a little differently, but he's Buddha, right?
So,
So,
so it's really important to have others on the path, and otherwise you're just reinforcing the aloneness
right.
of what some of our emotions bring us to. And
Absolutely.
and healing happens through relationship anyway, so
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So, what is the storyline of your memoir? Like, what are the things that you were really hoping to share, or the things that your personal experiences that you really hoped would help others?
Things like, look at yourself. Don't project it out and think everything is about other people. Yes, other people have stuff, just like we have stuff.
Mhm.
Other people could be hurtful, but take a look at, okay, if I'm really upset about what somebody's doing, what somebody's saying, what is it about me that's being touched or triggered, or um, what's been unhealed inside of me that's been touched, and really looking at myself and taking responsibility for myself
Yeah.
really helps. um, it's not necessarily going to change what other people are doing, usually it won't, but you never know, and maybe the way we talk to somebody can make a difference. So I say that a lot in the book. I talk about nourishment, how when I was a young mother, I thought what nourishment meant, but not really, not until I was on the airplane with an infant and they said, "Put your oxygen mask on first." And it's like, "What do you mean put your oxygen mask on first? I have an infant here. I have to save him." And you can't really save the baby without saving yourself first. That was a real wake-up call. Um, a lot of therapists, especially young therapists, will talk to their clients about, you have to do self-care, but that doesn't really make sense until you really have an experience that says, oh, if I don't take care of myself, I can't really help you. If I don't take care of myself, I can't really be there for the kids.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. How old are your kids now?
so my son is 39 and I have one child, and
Okay.
I had a lot of miscarriages, which
That's
is
something that you write about in the book also, isn't it?
right, loss, yeah,
Okay. That's
lot
where I
a
was kind of
loss.
going with that. I wasn't sure. So you
Yeah,
have one son, and then how many miscarriages did you go through?
so too many, 4.
It's too.
And when I was born, I was allergic to the what do they call it? Formula. So
Mhm.
they gave me soybean formula. No surprise, because I'm mostly a vegetarian most of the time. But probably too much soy really screwed up my hormones.
Mm.
They didn't know about these things in the early 80s when I was pregnant and having miscarriages and so on. So Josh is 39 and the proud father of Levi, who's almost 2.5.
Oh my goodness. I know in your bio, that's kind of like love of your life. You make a lot of time to spend with your grandson, right?
Yes, as much as I can. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you all live in close proximity?
Not far. Yeah, we used to live about 25 miles away. Now we live right near, you can't see the water from here, the East River in Manhattan, and
Okay.
there's a ferry that they take over from Brooklyn, and it's not far away.
Nice.
But even in the car, it's like a 17-minute drive. It's not bad. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
What do you love taking advantage of being a New Yorker?
Oh, practitioners are amazing, all different types of practitioners. Um, the food, oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Like
I gain
last
like 5 pounds every time I walk inside the city. It's
last night I take in often this Ayurvedic food. So, you know, I don't have time or the desire to cook special food. So, I do that. So I would say the food, the art, the theater, I mean, there actually are parks here. There's the zoo, um, in Central Park and all of that. Um, but in this cold weather, I don't really go to too
Yeah,
much. I haven't gone to the theater now since October, actually.
gotcha.
Um, but I'll be going back soon. Um,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's everything here, every type of person, which is one thing that I love in New York, and the best food. And I mean, there are other places in the world that have the best food too, but there's a lot here.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're bouncing around here on topics, but if we go back to like the miscarriages, I know a lot of the women that I've worked with and a lot of women that listen to this show have been through that. Um, what's your best advice to people who are going through that or things that really helped you to cope?
Well, it wasn't easy because there was no Google and there were no books. Um, so therapy helped me a lot, you know, allowing myself to grieve and mourn. I made a handmade basket to help me through the miscarriage I had after Josh's birth. Josh was full term. Um, so, art helped me, uh, and getting back on my feet and working, really helped me. Um, Learning more about energy healing helped me.
Yeah.
Um, but really working on myself and my grief and my mourning and allowing that and my anger, Like, it didn't make sense. I worked at a rehab center that doesn't even exist anymore down near here. And I would walk to work every day, and there was a methadone clinic around the corner, and there were people that were doing all kinds of drugs, and they were pregnant and they had babies in the stroller, and I couldn't have the second pregnancy. I mean, I couldn't have the second child. They call it something like second child infertility or something like that. But they
Okay.
didn't know that back then, that it was just that I needed more certain hormones.
Yeah.
Now I do everything to help the women. Um, and the biggest shock was, first of all, it was a shock that, here I was, this athletic, healthy young woman, and I wasn't as healthy as I thought I was. And my body certainly couldn't sustain certain pregnancies. And I thought I was going down one path where I was planning to have a certain amount of children and work as a therapist. But then it was like, what do I really want to do? And how am I going to really handle this? And here we were living in a house, not a big house, but here we were living in a house in the suburbs, and we thought it was going to be a certain trajectory of life, and it wasn't. And it really got me into questioning the purpose of life and the purpose of uh, everything. I turned everything on its head. Inside out, I turned myself inside out too. I judged myself, there must be something wrong with me. How could this be? What I do it, this BS about what I do in a past life, that I deserve this in this life, all these crazy things. And really realizing that life is not always fair,
Right.
and sometimes it's tragic, and sometimes it's traumatic, and sometimes just because I want something doesn't mean that I'm going to get it. So what I've realized is there is no control. As much as I want to control things, there is no control. Everything's always changing, and there's always the unknown. And really getting that in every cell in my body, not so easy, but it's helpful. And gratitude, without gratitude, boy,
Yeah.
wow, gratitude for the small things.
Absolutely. It definitely helps to reframe and shift things for sure. Because a lot of things can seem really unfair, when we're looking at things through the lens of comparison, thief of joy, and so many other things. So I love, how real you are about that. Oh my goodness. How do you work with people these days? Is it just through like your practice, or how do you see clients?
So I work with people one-on-one, um, and I have my toolkit of different modalities that I work with, and I just bring all that forward, and we go pretty deep pretty quickly. Um, and I do a healing at the end of the session. So I do a 60-minute session, not a typical therapy session, which is 45 minutes,
Okay.
50 minutes. And then I do a healing at the end, and the healings are based on, how do I describe it? So the main modality that I use and that I teach is called non-dual Kabbalistic healing. So that's
Okay.
based on Kabbalah, Buddhism, quantum physics, Western psychology, Ayurvedic understanding.
Nice.
So I do that. I also teach that to larger groups, and I also teach to people that are graduates of the school how to really embody it and work with the understanding of Kabbalah, the Buddhism, all this stuff that we have as part of the modality, in order to be compassionate and open and really being in relationship with the person right where they are. So that's how I work, and they're good sessions. And so I do one-on-one, I do the supervision groups, and I do the larger teaching.
Very cool. I love that. Where's
Yeah.
the best place for people to find out more about you if they want to learn more about this, or if they want to get a copy of your book?
Well, the copy of my book, if you go to my website, eileenmardermerman.com, I'm assuming it's going to be on the show notes.
I will make sure everything that you say here is in the show notes, so it's easy
I'm
for
sure,
people to get to later if they're driving or distracted while they're listening.
yeah, so you could just click on that, and you could actually, I have a download for the book that's like digital. And it doesn't have to be Kindle. Any kind of digital pad can take it. And then if you want to buy the paper copy,
Uh-huh. Beautiful.
you could do that in just about any bookstore. So, but if you want to find out more about what I do and who I am, I mean, you've got some of the most vulnerable parts of me here today.
Good.
The book will tell you more, and the website will be more precise about the different healing modalities that I integrate. And I don't list every single one. Like I said, EFT, I know how to do it and teach some clients how to do it, but I'm not a master of it. If I'm a master of it, I put it online.
Sure. No, I love that. I think most of us people who are working in the healing environment have a lot of things up our sleeve that we're not telling anybody about, but in the right environment, it all comes out and alchemizes just the way that it needs to for us to, create some pretty awesome magic.
It's true.
So that's awesome. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the listeners with? Any like closing thoughts or things that we didn't get to talk about that you'd like to mention?
So one of the chapters that I wrote was about forgiveness. And in the therapy world, a lot of therapists think that you have to forgive even if you're not ready to forgive. And I believe that the forgiveness really a lot of therapists believe that you have to forgive the other for even if it's abuse.
Hmm.
I don't believe that. I believe that we have to forgive ourselves and really be kind to ourselves in order to heal. And some people we just might not be able to forgive. Does it happen on our deathbed? I don't know, not there yet. So just trust yourself. And if you're working with a therapist that says you have to forgive prematurely, like find another one.
It's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't consider that. I cannot believe how many people will just go to a particular therapist or practitioner, and even if they don't like what's happening, they'll stay. That's
Yeah.
something I'd really like to see is more, especially women, advocating for themselves, what feels right, what doesn't feel right. I actually created a whole resource last year called the Better Therapy Checklist because
Oh,
I felt like there was all of these things the boxes that people were not checking. Like, does your therapist or practitioner actually like kind of like take their own medicine? Are they continuing to expand and grow, or are they stagnating? Like, what is the energy that you want to step into when you work with somebody? I think that's really, really important stuff to consider before you pay somebody to help you with your issues. So I appreciate you saying that.
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Eileen. It was great to get to know you better and to understand more of what you're doing to spread your light in the world. And I love that you're actually providing a free copy of your book to people who are, signing up on your email list. That's awesome. Guys, go get that. It's an amazing book and what a generous offering. So thank you so much for providing that. And we'll make sure all of your other stuff is in the show notes so that people can click on it and come check you out. And to all of you who listen today, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a million or more choices when it comes to what you're listening to on podcasts these days. So the fact that you're here with me and Eileen today means the world. So thanks again for being here, Eileen.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.